All right, so with NFL season getting ready to kick off, teams across the league are ramping up cybersecurity to protect themselves against growing cyber threats and ransomware. To make sure that they're ready, the Cleveland Browns are teaming up with Binary Defense in an effort to prevent cyber and physical threats by predicting them ahead of time. Joining us now to discuss is David Kennedy, co-founder and chief hacking officer of Binary Defense, and Brandon Covert, vice president of information technology with the Cleveland Browns. It's good to talk to both of you today. So, Brandon, let me begin with you. What are you seeing when it comes to attempts to invade your systems?
Yeah, just like many other businesses, we have constant threats to our network, to our data, and things like ransomware attacks, issues like business email compromise, or financial fraud, wire fraud that are attempting to get access to our systems. There's also proprietary football information that kind of help us in strategy and game preparation that we're constantly looking to protect. And fan data and credit cards and biometrics are something that we are really trying to protect with our services and the NFL and Binary Defense.
I mean, clearly there is such an incredible intersection between the data that a team has in and the opportunities to exploit that data, even in the sports betting world, which I cover so thoroughly. You can see how threat actors could get in and use that data to their advantage where sports betting goes. So, David, when you're looking at preventing the intrusions, does it differ at all from the way that cybersecurity firms are trying to protect other corporations?
Thanks, Contessa. It does a little bit. When you look at what capabilities we have in the private sector now, we have the same capabilities as law enforcement typically does around intelligence gathering purposes. So, each industry is uniquely different. If you look at water treatment facilities and critical infrastructure, your biggest attacks can be coming from nation states, right? To Brandon's point, they're in the hospitality industry as well as a number of others, entertainment and sports betting, sports booking. Those are all unique industry verticals that we have to take into consideration when we're trying to prevent or thwart attacks and try to figure out what the methods, the capabilities, the advancements they have in that. And, just with the 12 billion fund, PE funds that are potentially coming out, there's a lot of excitement around all of these different professional sports. And then, these attackers and adversaries know that these organizations have lots of money, which is opportunistic for ransomware. So, there are differences based on how they're doing things, and the capabilities continue to get better. So we definitely have to build defenses against that to make sure that they're all protected.
Brandon, how often have the Browns' defenses been tested by bad actors in this case? And have you ever been the subject of a ransomware attack? Yeah,
we're constantly monitoring and getting alerted to threats. One of the things Binary Defense does for us is really become the first line of defense. If something is detected in our environment, they're first to see it sometimes before we are.
So when you say constantly, are you saying every day? Are you saying a couple of times a week? What?
Yeah, every day. I mean, there's attacks. They may not necessarily be targeted specifically at us, but coming at us from our firewalls, external phishing attempts. Things that maybe an attacker isn't necessarily targeting the Browns specifically, but anybody that may fall victim to a compromise or any sort of phishing scam.
I'm curious, the NFL had a news conference last week where it was talking about the new rules for gambling, that players and refs and coaches were all going to have to go for this training in person. In conjunction with that, the NFL also said it has seen a massive increase in threats made against players, coaches, and refs, and the way that they were planning to enforce and defend against their staff. I'm curious, if your counterintelligence team can monitor for potential disruptions, like streaking on the field, could you also disrupt some of those threats of physical violence against these players as a backlash to, I presume a lot of it has to do with people losing their gambling bets?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at counterintelligence, not just the cyber warfare / threat actors that we're going after, we're also looking at physical threats to the facility, the stadium, to players, to any organization that we're actively monitoring. And what ends up happening is you have, essentially different thresholds around when we start to home in and kind of dive down deep into, a potential threat that's happening. People say things all the time, but you can definitely create opportunistic patterns around people that are becoming more obsessive, that start to go more outlandish or direct threats. And we obviously escalate those. Combining things like artificial intelligence and machine learning to pull all this data in and actualize those so that human analysts can go through and sift through this data very quickly is a big thing that only, the NSA and other, government agencies were capable of doing 20 years ago, has really flipped the switch in the private sector so that, we can provide defenses physically and both on the cyber front in both areas to try to protect. And we've had a number of instances where we've, not specifically with the Browns, but just in general, we've provided information that has led to arrests, has led to preemptive ways of stopping specific physical threats. We had an actual location, a retail location that was going to be hit from a specific attacker, and they were testing police response times. We were able to get a hold of that as well ahead of time and to notify police officers before they were actually robbed. So, there's a lot of things that we're doing out there to protect these companies.
Yeah. All right, David Kennedy, thanks for the insight. Brandon Covert, good luck to you this season.